Peanut Butter Falcon?
I love that movie.
good
But
movie.
didn't it make you mad that they made the throw
Yes.
unrealistic?
I don't
at the
know
end?
why they did that.
It- but
It was so unnecessary.
It's so funny.
It was so
I
unnecessary.
watched it. I'm like, oh, he's gonna do.
What? So dumb. So
I think
dumb.
they were like, we got to show this kid strength. Oh, this is harder than we thought it was gonna be. We didn't think about this. We would rewrite the whole movie.
Oh, man.
So yeah, we're on.
Peanut Butter Falcon's really good.
Welcome to The Cover, where three Hoosier friends judge books by their covers and movies by their trailers.
That's right. I'm Brett, here with my fellow Indiana natives, Remington and Marcus, ready to dive into the stories that keep us up all night and occasionally put us to sleep.
Whether you're a bookworm, movie buff, or just here for the witty banner, we've got you covered.
Each week, we'll dissect a different book or movie, sharing fun facts, hot takes, and moments that make Marcus cry. Spoiler alert, we're not experts, but we're definitely opinionated.
From literary masterpieces to blockbuster flops, nothing is safe from our snarky reviews and wild tangents. Who knew Hoosiers could be this entertaining?
So grab your popcorn and reading glasses because we're about to embark on a hilarious journey through the pages and screens that shape our lives. Or at least our weekends.
You're listening to The Cover. Let's get the show on the road before one of our kids wakes up.
Rem, are we starting? Marcus needs to know if we're actually starting.
I'm in on the starting now.
Yeah, guys, I just really don't think I'm ever going to say anything that I don't want anyone to hear. I just don't care. I don't care.
It's not that as much as now we've got a brand. I probably shouldn't.
Yeah, 8 episodes in, we got a brand.
Yep, it's a brand.
All right. Well, so yeah, we're recording.
Mostly
I'm not sure if this will make
family-friendly.
the show, but
Yeah.
Let's start the show.
so I've been giving a lot of messages lately that involve regattas because I've been talking about the boys.
Boats.
Yeah, I've been talking about the boys in the boat, and then I gave a message today on sailing. And this is fascinating. In sailing, it's what they call a rolling start. So like Rolex makes this watch called a Yachtmaster, and it's got a 10-minute like timer on it. And essentially it's set up so that someone can see their watch, see the flags going up and sync their watch to the starting. And so it's basically so that they have like a distance between the actual start line and this gray area. And if they're past the start line when it starts, because a sailboat can't like just be stuck in place. They don't use anchors or anything. So that
makes sense. I never thought of that. Okay.
So you basically have a margin of error for where you have to be when the race starts.
Wow.
Isn't that interesting?
That's
and so like
crazy.
I always thought that the timer on the watch was basically around tacking. So that like you set the timer, go this way for 10 minutes, and then set the sails a different way so that you can go straight.
Yeah.
But it's not.
Wow. Do you know what the variance of time is?
What do you mean?
I was thinking about including sailing in the Olympics this year.
You were thinking about it?
In the draft Olympics. Yeah.
Oh. I love how people who don't like their draft, by the way, are the ones that like say, okay, I'm in charge of the Olympics next year, so that they can pick stuff that they're good at, even though you were last year's.
I've done it before.
Here's the deal. We actually should find someone willing to hang out with us for the weekend, record everything we do, and create a montage, because the draft Olympic videos that make it onto the major social media accounts in the world
aren't as good as ours?
Are not even close to what we have. It's not, and the punishments are also, some of them are actually would make some of the guys in our league cry, but the draft Olympics are not close.
We talked about on a previous episode making someone play an instrument they don't know how to play. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
What have been some of your favorite activities that we actually do during the draft? So we basically set up a 6 to 10 obstacle course / activities where you're ranked based on how you place in this thing, right?
It's a what would you call it? A pentathlon, triathlon? What would be? It's a lot of different events.
Decathlon.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's at least.
But it's sometimes it's sports, sometimes it's like
we've done video games.
Yeah,
we've done
taking
trivia.
a test, taking the Wonderlic test, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The Elliot and
what are some of the best memories that we're allowed to share? Because this is a grown men fraternity grouping of guys. Like, there's some stuff we want to keep in the group.
I mean, the hot dogs was rough.
Oh, yeah. The hot dog eating contest.
No, the hot dogs were rough. Watching Logan out of nowhere just
dominate.
Like
he'd been watching YouTube videos on how to do it.
Like, okay, I'm going to take this bun and just soak it for 30 seconds.
After
and then
watching
shoot it in front
him
of you.
soak that bun in there and just put him down, I was like, okay, I could do that. No problem. Soaked it, threw it in my mouth, almost threw up immediately.
Yeah.
Okay,
everything was good. Everything was not good.
Another epic Logan moment. Okay, when we were doing the ring toss and no one could hit it, he just picks up all of them at once and throws them.
Yeah,
It changed anybody that got to
kind
go.
of cheap though, because he was on the Olympic planning committee.
He made the event.
I'm not a big fan. of that.
I'm okay with it being that, like, that's a lot of time and effort to plan it. I'm okay with that happening, but
Let's do this. Email thecoverpod@gmail.com if you've got ideas for Olympic events for our draft.
Please,
Olympics.
somebody email us.
yeah, we've done punt, pass, kick. None of us would have won the 10-year-old round.
I win that every year somehow. I don't know
what?
how.
So this whole thing started because I said we're finally going to ask people for something. So I want to get back to that because we really need it.
We really need. Yeah, that's
this
true.
The cover podcast is in dire need of one more chair.
Yep, needs to be comfortable.
We need a basement
It doesn't
level
need to be new. Yeah,
leather
it could be
chair that
gently
you're
used.
just throwing away.
Dude, your
It can be
grandparents.
more
If
than-
you're-
It could
if
be
you're-
more than gently used.
If you're listening to this, your grandparents have a chair that hasn't been sat on in
Basically,
years.
Marcus has to go upstairs and find a chair somewhere in my house because I keep forgetting to bring one down, and he refuses to sit on these.
And
Amazon.
Rem makes his pregnant wife carry it upstairs
Yes.
every time. It's pretty
she
horrible.
desires that kind of work to get the baby out.
It's actually for Kelsey. Not
Pretty
for
sure
us.
that I took it back up last week.
Yeah, that's true. So did I.
Oh, nice. Okay. Well, in that case, I think you're off the hook.
The most epic start to a show ever was this one that we're launching on Wednesday, by the way, because Marcus is finally done with the banter, and he goes, "All right, Brett, you want to start us off?" Brett goes, "Heck yeah, I'm ready to start us off. What's new, Rem?" Oh man, I have thoroughly enjoyed making the show with you guys. I listen to it while I mow. I listen to it in the car. It's
We
honestly
listened to it. We went and we played a par 3 course.
who's we?
On Friday night, Jessica and I did.
Yeah.
And we listened to A Knight's Tale together.
That's
It
good.
was pretty funny.
That's good. I mean, I enjoy it a lot. I think it's fun that people are like writing into the show, mostly via social media. Definitely not our email.
No.
I'm not convinced we have the email address right that we're giving people.
The
That's-
coverpod
yeah.
at gmail.com.
Coverpod@gmail.com. I can
Yeah.
confirm that. That's
Okay.
accurate. That is accurate. Don't ask me if I'm ready right now because I'm not.
Oh.
But I would say my favorite are, social media DMs are great. When I get a random text from somebody I haven't talked to in 4 years,
Yeah.
that's like,
Yeah.
Dude.
No doubt.
your guys' Patriot episode, I can't stop laughing. It's pretty awesome.
What's funny is when people will text you like in the middle of a thought as if they had been talking to you about it because they're listening to the show. They're listening to the show. So they're in mid dialogue with us. And then like they'll just send us a text. That's not what he was saying about that. And I'm like, I'm sorry.
I think that's
Context,
been the
please.
best compliment that I think we've gotten is just I just feel like I'm hanging out with you guys talking
Right.
about the movie. You
Yep.
know, I think that
Nate from Minneapolis, I think. said
could
that.
be wrong. Could be wrong here, but it feels like as long as we stick to movies that are pretty popular, that a lot of people have seen, then they feel like they're kind of watching the movie with us, or they could watch it that week beforehand, or whatever. And then the books, because we've done mostly nonfiction, those kinds of things. I think people, in many cases, they might have read them, but also it gets them more interested in potentially reading that book.
When it's subjects they're interested in or people they have loved learning about in the past, I think that's
So I do want to encourage if you're listening to this though, because I got that feedback from a buddy in Fort Wayne, and he said, "Yeah, I really have just I've been listening to a lot of them, but I really pick and choose the movies that I know and I've watched before." But I would challenge you, like especially there's probably going to be books we do especially that you haven't heard of or haven't read. I really think those are some of our best episodes that are not only entertaining but enlightening, and they're a lot of fun too.
I'm not going to encourage you to do anything because I don't even listen to the episodes. But hey, I'm sure they're great. So I got some great feedback. It's good. So
we ready, Brett?
I think we're ready, man. I think we're ready. Welcome to the Cover Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, the loud slam poetry,
The Clipper.
Brett Wiggins. And as always, to my left, I've got my buddy in the red Wabash. I'm gonna call that a
Throwback.
gosh, that's a hoodie, but it's a tee.
It's a relic.
It's a long sleeve tie. I love it. Those are my favorite hoodies. I have a Parks Place.
Basically, if you had a loved one that went to college in the 60s, they left you that shirt.
It's a great shirt.
Yeah,
Great
I like
shirt.
this shirt a lot. Anyway, my name's Forrest Gump.
And sitting to my right in a gently used T-shirt that was left at his lake by Nate in Minneapolis.
Was it Nate?
We're pretty
Well, that's
convinced.
what you said.
Your
Yeah.
argument was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is my buddy Rem. Rem, what are we covering tonight? What do we got?
So we're not calling me Sir Remington anymore. That was just for one episode.
I think we should call you Sir Remington.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think
I'd be
anytime
down.
we do a movie or book by Sir Ridley Scott, we'll call you Sir Remington.
Oh, well, we do a lot of them. What did you ask me?
What are we covering tonight?
Forrest Gump. He's a simple man
Forrest
with a low IQ, but good intentions. He is running through childhood with his best and only friend, Jen A. His mama teaches him the ways of life and leaves him to choose his destiny. Forrest joins the Army of Service in Vietnam, finding new friends called Dan and Bubba. He wins medals, creates a famous shrimp fishing fleet, inspires people to jog, starts a ping pong craze, creates the smiley, and writes bumper stickers and songs, donates to people, and meets the president several times. However, this is irrelevant to Forrest, who can only think of his childhood sweetheart, Jenny Curran, who has messed up her life, although in the end, all he wants to prove is that anyone can love anyone. That's pretty
What a life.
that's pretty good.
What a life.
Here's what's interesting though, halfway through the movie, and every time I watch this I forget that it's basically just a history lesson. This is just the smaller version. The history of the United States from the 1950s to the 70s unfolds from the perspective of an Alabama man with the IQ of 75 who yearns to be reunited with his childhood sweetheart. It's pretty epic halfway through when you realize it's
Do
just
either
like a
of you
history
guys
lesson.
know your IQ? I don't know mine.
I imagine mine is pretty high. What is the highest? What's the scale?
I don't actually know.
It's like testosterone scale is like 0 to like 1,000, and like
That I'm sure I have a lot of.
What was when we were growing up? There were 3 portions of the SAT. What was the perfect score? 20.
2,400. It was
2,400?
800, 800.
Mhm.
Got it. I'm
And
trying to
then
remember.
the ACT is what, 36?
Now, the writing didn't count for us. So
Did we still do it?
we
Or if you mean
were
for
like,
Wabash.
we were like the test people for the writing.
Got it.
What's your guys' take on standardized testing, especially having most of your kids in a classical learning education? How do we feel about standardized testing?
It depends who creates the test.
I think the information, what they're testing on, is probably the more important question. I don't know. I think that you can train kids to be really great at taking tests. I think there's value in putting that pressure on and being able to regurgitate knowledge and whatnot. But I think it's more of what we're testing for that I'd be more interested in.
So, like the test that you guys went through.
I think that testing is necessary for benchmarking, to make sure that
That sounded like you said a name.
I know.
Benchmarking.
benchmarking.
I was like,
There you
who's
go.
Ben, and why is his last name
Benchmarking.
Schmarking?
And why does he care about my kids' tests?
No, I mean it's important for benchmarking,
There we go.
but if the problems that we get into is that we're tying all sorts of things to these results, and then whoever controls the test controls the curriculum, and
Mm-hmm.
whatever you put on that test becomes the things that you teach to. And if you're just teaching to a test and you're not teaching kids how to learn, if you're just teaching to a test and you're not teaching kids how to read really well and how to think, then you run into some of the problems that I believe we have today.
I think when the
Education.
dollars are tied to the test, you're a slave to the test, and now we're just
Mhm.
teaching to test, and that's not
Yeah.
a win. That's not a win for
Mhm.
anybody.
No, I
Yeah.
don't think the teachers like it. It's
Yeah.
not good for the students, and there's plenty of data to back that up.
Is there a budget in Corandeo's budget to run an ad on this podcast?
No.
Okay. All right.
Malcolm Gladwell has a really good episode over the LSAT.
Mm.
And about what it's all
Yeah.
speed based, basically. Like
Yeah.
that's supposed to be high pressure, and he totally rips it apart. Like, I mean, obviously it's his perspective, and that's what he does. But
I
it's
love
pretty
his
good.
perspective, though. I mean, when he breaks down the language barrier as to the reason why Asian kids are better at math scores, was that in Outliers?
That's an Outliers.
So in
yes.
Outliers, he basically says,
I just said that very confidently as usual. There's like an 85% chance Outliers.
So in one of his books, he basically talks about the language barrier as being the reason why most Asian scores are higher on math. And it's because their language, by the time in English we get to 7, now we have double 2-syllable words, and by the time we get to 13, 14, 17, 21, we've got multiple syllable words, whereas in like Chinese language, for instance, all of those are 1-syllable words. So when you're teaching your kids at the younger ages, they're able to get it faster because they can just say those words faster. And so we always think it's like a genetic thing and all this, and I love his take where he takes like basic things that we all just assume and is like, well, there's more to the story.
Yeah, the way he finds the simple answer, that makes sense.
Mhm.
I love. Also, still listening to his Hitler's Olympics series. So good.
I listened to the first one or two.
Coming off of Boys in the Boat, it's so good.
Yeah?
It's
Nice.
so great. So great. Rem, thanks for that. Was that officially from? What's your source on that?
No, that's IMDb, one of the writers. I picked one of the ones that was relatively short, but actually shared what happens in the movie. Forrest Gump is one where, like, man, pretty much everyone you know is going to know something, is going to be able to quote. I remember going through the movie this last time, and I was remembering everyone in my family's favorite quote as it was happening, like even extended family.
What age do you think is the cutoff to where there's a pretty strong guarantee they've seen it? Like, they're how old today?
Today? Ooh, that's a good question, because you deal with like college kids that
And
are
I can
22
tell you right
and under,
now,
and they haven't seen it. Most of them.
I would bet money very few of them have seen Forrest Gump.
Wow, are we like the last generation where you can pretty much bet that we have like 33?
So what year did it come out?
94.
Maybe you just say millennials.
Millennials is the last age group where you can predict that they have seen it.
That's
Better
probably
chance
true.
they have than have not. So I was 7 when it came out. That's one of the things I was trying to ask myself is, as I'm watching, I'm going, why was I allowed to watch this?
Yeah. Well, what was the context in which you guys watched it the first time?
I don't think I watched this movie until I was
An adult?
I think this was a
at
normal.
least like junior, senior in high school.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't remember the first time I did either. In fact, it was one of those movies, you know those movies that are always playing on television?
Yeah.
And so you watch bits and pieces of it and you just think you've seen the whole movie.
Yeah.
And then you watch it for the first time and you're like, I don't remember that. That was that kind of movie for
Yep.
me because it's always on TV. Now we don't have that. We're not just watching TV on certain channels, like we're specifically watching specific things. So unless you're sitting down to watch a movie, the chances of you just passing by and watching a movie are pretty slim to
kind
none.
of a shame too, because that was the way to see an R-rated movie, before you were ready to see an R-rated
cut out
movie.
all the trash.
Yeah. So yeah, this was like a normal Friday night movie night
Mhm.
at like 10.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, 10 years old.
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that tracks with everything else that
Yes,
you shared.
it does. Yeah. It's but and
I'm
probably
just
because
impressed that you've seen a movie that we covered.
But was
What?
it on TV?
no, it was probably it was either my mom or my dad.
Yeah.
And they were probably just like, I don't want to wait to see this. We're watching it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like a couple of scenes with Jenny are pretty intense.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
So you need to read.
I mean, it's right at the beginning, right at the beginning, where his mom gets him into school.
So
I mean-
that's hilarious, but you don't know why it's hilarious, and then at some point,
and
you
at
like,
some point, you know,
you recoil and you're like, "Oh, that's
Oh yeah.
that's what was happening."
Oh yeah.
So that and yeah, there's a couple of moments like that.
because like Jessica and I were watching it, and I think that older kids or something were watching something else
Yeah.
upstairs, and that scene came on. And we were like,
Yeah.
this is like one of the first scenes. Like we thought we were pretty safe
So when
here.
the guy walks out and he's talking to Forrest, it's almost as if Forrest knows what he's doing and he's making fun of him. Yeah. But like I don't think he had the wherewithal to do that.
Or Forrest thinks his mom is scaring him as a little boy, just thinking,
I don't know.
"Oh, my mom
Yeah.
yelled at you,"
Like,
or you.
if he is playing a joke on him, like if he is
Hilarious.
like it's pretty out of the ordinary for Forrest to be able to pull a joke off like that. That's why it's interesting.
Yeah, no,
Is that movie magic?
maybe.
We need to make T-shirts. Was it a book first or anything?
Ooh, I should know that.
Man, I was, because as I'm watching, I'm going, this would be a great book. This would be
Really? I feel like there's certain things that
it feels like it
only-
was written for screen.
Yeah, I feel like there's things in it that you can only do on the screen.
But I mean, every book that we've loved that has gone to the screen has made that transition
Yeah, but
and
this
added
is
things
such
in.
a
or whatever.
unique movie where they literally use old footage from presidents and put him in a very believable way. By the way, like when I was young,
that is pretty funny. Yeah.
When I was young, I was like, oh wow, he actually was there.
Well, that's how far CGI has come, because the feather, I remember being young and be like, man,
How'd they
train that feather? And then like within 3 seconds, I'm like, that feather's not real. That's not real. It's not real. All right, let's get
You
into
don't
some
think the feather's real?
let's get into some 30-second synopsis. Rem gave us his IMDb. Did you credit the author of that amazing?
Nope, and I'm not gonna find it.
Oh,
So
dang. All right. Who was it last time? Chris? I think it was Chris. Sam.
Check it out on IMDb, I guess.
It was pretty good. I've got my 30 seconds of slam poetry, followed by Mark's 9 words that he just remembered he's going to be doing in 30 seconds.
Yeah, I figured it out while Ram was talking.
Oh, nice. Okay,
Mhm.
cool. All right. 30-second synopsis on the clock. Ready, set, and go. Boy, legs, Elvis, broken, hit in the face with a rock, runs away. Fast forward, high school, Alabama. Lots of different medals. War, Bubba, shrimp. Then comes back. Mom dies. A lot of people die. Jenny, in, out, in, out. Why do you keep giving her 29 chances? Well, that comes to pass. She passes as well. And Forrest lives an amazing life. And they have little Forrest. Marcus, 9 words.
it's funny.
I
that
just remembered
Elvis
that I
made
was
it.
supposed to get a box of chocolates for us to share tonight.
Oh, where would you have gotten them from?
I don't know.
South Bend.
I
Chocolate
don't-
Factory,
There's a
for
place
sure.
in Muncie called Lowry's that I literally drive to Muncie just to get my mom this box of chocolates every Christmas. Lowry's chocolates and their creams. Oh my gosh, they are so
Interesting.
good.
Yeah, I just remembered that. All right, here we go. Slow Southern boy changes America and gets the girl.
Dude, you're so good at that.
I like it.
You're so good at that.
I like that you apologize to us because you screwed up, as if you're letting us down.
He's so good at it.
Yeah.
A rhetoric major that is intergalactic dealt. A rhetoric intergalactic.
A
dealt.
rhetoric.
A rhetoric.
A rhetoric.
No,
Well, it
rhetoric.
was allegorical.
It was allegorical.
The feather is the first thing that made me stop and think of things you were in awe of as a kid, and then you watch way down the road. Have you ever played a video game you played as a kid?
Mm-hmm.
And you're just like, man, times have changed.
Yeah.
Times
Well,
have
the
changed.
video games that we played as a kid were way harder.
I
You
have
just kept dying, and you had to.
They make them easier now, so
over
you
and
feel like
over
you're
again.
You feel like they're easier now, so
I
that
feel
you
like we were
continue to
about to
play.
get some hate mail. I feel
Yeah,
like
tell me
we're
about
to
it.
get called
So
boomers.
what games are we talking about here that you think are harder or easier now?
I'm just saying, if you
I guess Marcus would be with kids that are approaching teenage age.
all right, so
Yeah, but
think
you
about
gotta-
it. Think
you-
about it this way, like just think about the Mario universe.
Yeah.
Right. So
You die, you start over.
we started with whether it's the Super Mario Bros. Or Super Mario 3. I played a lot as a kid.
Mhm.
Right. If if you got to a certain point and ran out of lives, the game was over, and you had to start all over again.
Oh yeah.
Well, but during our lifetime, they came out with the checkpoints.
Yep.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Well, the first one to really have the checkpoints that I remember from a Mario perspective was Super Mario.
Nintendo.
Yeah, with the Super Nintendo.
Yep.
And I loved that game too, but man, it just take forever over and over and over and over again. Whereas these more adventure style ones, there's all sorts of different like side quests and things that you can do, and it'll just keep you busy for a really long time. And the idea is just to keep you playing the game versus trying to beat something.
Do you remember if you replayed a level that you had already saved that you had beat, but you pressed the wrong selection, it would delete your save and restart you from there?
Yeah.
So I was staying at my dad's house. This dude Steve was the best at Super Mario, the best. And I would always replay this favorite level, and they'd always be like, "You gotta press this one. Make sure you press this one." So I'm playing it, and I accidentally pressed the wrong one. And my dad's like, "Did you press the wrong one?" And he was like, "Steve's gonna be so upset." And I thought I ruined everything.
So I don't necessarily mean harder.
That's a core memory for you.
It is, man.
Getting some stuff out.
But it was just like maybe more frustrating. I don't know. Than
so in like now. I've thought about this a lot because I played games like Spyro the Dragon, Gex, Crash Bandicoot.
Great.
Crash is still hard. It is. By the way, we have that for the Switch.
I got it for the Switch too, and like there's parts where it's just like, okay, am I going to dedicate the next hour to beating this level? And like I'm trying to figure out, like there's a fine line between like learning how to finish the job, stay in the course, grit, and like, is this worth my time?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, like as a kid, how you do anything is how you do everything is not the quote.
It's not it. As a kid, I'm not sure I could argue that there was anything more important in that moment than sticking it out and beating that game.
And you're looking at it, you're like,
speaking of
that's where like Call of Duty in college was like damaging to my grades.
Speaking of a core memory, I remember playing Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to figure out this. Those puzzles in the middle where you had to like de-arm the bomb or whatever. And I remember my uncle coming in and goes, "If you put this much effort into," and I don't remember what else he said. And I was like,
cleaning the garage.
Yep. And then he left, and I was like, I gotta de-arm this bomb.
Did you guys ever play for Super Nintendo? Did you ever play the Goof Troop movie or the Goof Troop?
No, but I want
game?
to. I loved Goof Troop.
So there was like all these different puzzles that you had to get through, and I couldn't tell you anything about the game, but I remember there was one that for hours I was trying to solve. Just one puzzle, one specific thing. And I went to bed and I was defeated, like couldn't figure it out. And I fell asleep, and I swear to you, I dreamed how to solve this thing. Woke up at like 2 a.m. Went, plugged that sucker in, and did it. And
wow,
like the funny thing is Reed is like the exact age that I would have been ish when I did that, and he would totally do that.
What year did you start playing that like video games? Super Mario?
Maybe
Mario?
Like probably like I was maybe 7 or 8.
Okay. So before even that, the first video games I played would have been Oregon Trail.
In kindergarten, doing that on
at school.
I crushed AR points. Got my pizza Hut personal pan pizza and got to play Oregon Trail. Used to do AR points.
Yeah, accelerated reader.
If we had enough points, we got to play. Oh yeah, we got to play Oregon Trail.
I switched schools from 5th grade to 6th grade.
Oh, they reset your AR points?
They started AR points in 5th grade. So I didn't have them before, but I'd read a ton of the AR books. And so I just showed up in 6th grade and sat down at the thing and took like 1 million of the tests. And everybody was really mad at me because I had so many AR points right away.
This is really good for me because I never thought Marcus had anywhere near the type of childhood most of us did. The fact that he had a video game console at 7 years old, I'm actually very shocked.
Just wait till we get to Educated because, not to give away the book, but you've probably seen about it. It's about someone who grows up in the mountains and is just like completely secluded.
Wild.
I think it's going to be a really good episode.
First 25% of the book, I'm like, this is kind of about my life. Oh, man. Like minus the paranoia and feds, I'm like, this is kind of the way I grew up. But
Mine is hopefully a little bit more, but yes,
we're getting to the point where like it gets crazy. And my
holy
life was
moly,
like
it
crazy.
gets so nice.
I'm done with it. You guys.
Wow.
That's your only tease for this
you
episode.
read or you listened? You did both.
I listened, and then I've got the book, so I'm going to re-go through it. And
What'd you listen on? 1 point what?
Just listened.
Wow. Did you
just
travel this week or something?
1.0?
Did you travel?
Speed?
Did you drive?
12 hours in 1 week?
2 weeks since we decided we were going to do
so
it.
you're just really good at everything.
what did
I started right away.
And you didn't have any extra windshield time or anything this week that you crushed it, or?
I was doing chores and listening.
I'm trying to read it while I listen to it, and it's giving me like third grade vibes where it was really hard for me to focus, and it's like harder than I thought. Like I'm reading it while I listen, and it's not going well. Like I think I need to do one of the
I'm only listening, and man, I'm gripped.
So the way that I've figured out that works best for me for this podcast is to listen to it and then like speed
Go back
read
in.
through the book and take notes on things that I wanted to.
Man,
That way I don't have to. That way I'm just taking it in and I'm not taking notes when I'm listening.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if
then-
I'm excited or very nervous for that episode.
Yeah, I think it's gonna get deep. I think.
Too much of a tease. We got to get back.
But
to
let's
Forrest
talk
Gump.
about Forrest Gump.
Still got anxiety right now.
Name's Forrest Gump.
Creating the story, to your point, Rem, something that I guess I'm getting more and more respect for, whether it's directors or writers or whoever.
Mm-hmm.
The way they weaved it all in. The way they weaved all these different stories, presidents, Elvis, like just the idea to have his mom have a bed and breakfast essentially so they could have it was.
Yeah, totally.
I'm
the
in
the
awe.
decisions you make so that certain things will happen.
It's almost like we want to cover these 10 events. All right,
How do we get there?
let's connect all of them.
Yeah.
Let's figure out how we can connect them. Like major props to the director. Who directed this movie? Do we know?
Well, it's really, you're all over the place, man.
Thanks, man.
Can't
That's my
keep up.
job.
I love it. Only 8.8, by the way, not a full 9.0. Robert Zemeckis.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Is the person who directed this. And if you want to know his other works, the only one you guys have ever heard of is Flight.
Well, until
I
we
really
go,
like that movie though.
until we go to con.
Until we go to con.
Wow.
That's
So
right.
a one-hit acquitta.
Flight is really good, but there's definitely. And what's funny is I wrote down all those actors that we want to get to before we like start doing repeats.
Yeah.
And Denzel was on that list. I totally forgot that we did Remember the Titans because there's so many great Denzel.
I almost
there's
brought up
way different
Denzel
ones.
and then remembered we did Remember the Titans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So go back and check that one out.
Yeah.
But what did you say that I wanted to? So the interesting thing about this movie is it truly is a lesson in history through the eyes of a child. Like that's
Even when he's an adult.
even when he's an adult.
Yeah.
And but they make the character, and Tom Hanks really brings this character like the most lovable quality. Did we talk about how he created the voice? Did we talk about that on another episode?
No.
I don't know.
I saw this 1 minute reel where he was on the Graham Norton show. And he was basically saying, the director calls him and says, "Hey, Tom, we got to figure out how to get this kid to talk like you want him to talk for the movie." And he goes, "Well, why don't I just spend some time with him?" And after spending time with him, he's like, "I think I need to talk like this kid." And he started,
no way.
yeah, and he starts describing, it's young Forrest basically, and he starts describing how he talks, and he's from the South, and he puts a lot of emphasis on the G, so he says ringing, and he goes into it, and it's so good. But like, even as soon as he steps into that voice, you're like, you fall in love again with that character because it's so endearing.
Man, he really takes on that whole character the entire time.
Right.
Do you think in between takes he could step out and step into that while filming this movie very easily?
I don't know.
Some actors can, some actors
Man.
don't.
I was
He just
talking to
does such a
Kelsey. I was like,
tremendous
I
job.
bet for sure the months and maybe even years afterwards he would find himself,
Catch himself
talking
in-
like that.
yeah.
Like maybe not even character, but just at least talking like that. It's hard
Yep.
not to talk like that. One of the fun
I
facts.
doubt that.
You doubt that he would just say a word and not like kind of
Yeah.
accidentally talk that way?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, you just go to a different place when you're acting.
Method
And-
acting?
No, I'm just saying you just go to a different place. Like you become that character for that time.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you can recall it you can recall what you had done, but it's a completely separate part from your real life.
Yeah, but think about what we said for, what was it, Anthony Hopkins, like, would read a script 60 times before doing it for the first time. And, like, when you internalize a script like that, like, think about songs that you get stuck in your head and you just start singing them randomly. You don't think they would do that with, like, lines after reading them 60 times?
I'm just saying I don't think that he would just accidentally go into
start talking.
Yeah.
Because
he's already thinking about the next role, you
True.
know.
One of the fun facts is he actually learned ping pong for the role, and one of the people that was teaching him said, "Don't take your eye off the ball." And so for any clip in the entire movie, he does not blink while he's playing ping pong.
Another fun hidden gem that, because you said I thought of, every single picture of Forrest, his eyes are closed.
Yeah.
His eyes are closed in the cardboard cutout of him with the ping pong.
Thing.
His eyes are, every single picture, his eyes are closed. It's hilarious.
And he only wears blue shirts.
In the whole...
Yeah.
Really?
Now, I can't verify that because Kelsey just told me at the end of the movie that he only wore blue shirts, and I just took her word for it. So that's not a verified
That was a Brett move. So he has two movies where I think his percentage of time on the screen is between that and Castaway.
Yeah.
He's literally nearly in every single scene of this movie.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy.
And it's a long movie.
It's a long movie. But it felt like it moved very quickly because it's moving through history.
You notice that all the pictures that were voted Best Picture are like over 2.5 hours, some 3. Like, do you feel like you have to tell a story that wins Best Picture, it has to be a long movie?
I don't think so.
I mean, The Artist is short, the silent film that won a few years back, but most of them, like many of them, are very long.
Yeah, that's a deep crowd. I guess if you're just going for the IMDb, but Marvel movies can be pretty long too. I was gonna say like something like what's the formula today? Like superheroes. Quick, short, lots of action. Those are probably quick. They sell out of the box office, but they're not going to win.
Yeah, I mean, I don't
Best
think
Picture.
Whiplash isn't very long. Whiplash did pretty well. They didn't win, they didn't win the Oscar, but
yeah,
pretty short.
Man, I'm a big. I will say a lot of the movies that I really love are longer movies, and if it's a great movie, I don't care.
Yeah.
Not bothered at all.
So we were talking about like what makes him endearing and what makes the movie endearing. I think this line, obviously we're going to get to quotes, but this is one that's hard to miss that kind of encapsulates the whole character. Jenny goes, "Do you ever dream, Forrest, about who you're going to be?" And he goes, "Who I'm going to be?" And Jenny goes, "Yeah." And he goes, "Aren't I going to be me?" And like that is picture perfect for like who he believes himself to be, no matter all the fun things he's done, all the accolades that he's received. At the end of the movie, he's like, the football accolades and the war hero, and the college asked me to do something super cool, which was cutting grass. Yeah. I was like, that's my dream, baby. That's what I want to do. I want to cut grass.
I wrote down at the end of this, it was the last note that I took. No, second to last note that I took. I said, I think it's really interesting that he's present all the time. And that's the same thing that you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Is that he is just living in the present.
Right.
And there was I mean, it kind of, some of what happened kind of harkened back to like Matthew McConaughey with Green Lights. It's like, well, I told Bubba that I was going to go do the shrimp boat. So
right. So I followed through.
Said yes. I got $25,000. Took mom out to a nice dinner, and then went and bought a shrimp boat.
Yep.
And it's a green light. That's a Alan Alda say yes to everything, right? Like type of a moment. But he is just very present all the time. Is less concerned. Isn't concerned with the future or the past. He's just like, well, I wanted to run, so I ran, I thought that was really fascinating, just in terms of things that make you think, how often are we that present.
Yeah, it makes me wonder, do we need to adopt the simple mind and belief about things? Because if you look at how he addresses everything, treating people with respect, doing the right thing, grit and determination, how he addressed racial tension. Like, it just doesn't even occur to him, you know, and that ignorance and simple mind, but also, you know, caring for others, like, it's a simple formula, right? He goes, college and army was not that hard. You just do what they tell you to do.
Yeah, that was the very first note that I took was, I can't believe how it's so interesting to me how good he is at the army.
Yeah.
Because he just literally takes them literally.
Yeah.
Well, because the drill sergeant goes, "What is your job here? To do whatever you say, drill sergeant." That is the best answer I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Like, it's so true.
I'd recommend you for OCS if it wasn't such a waste of a good enlisted man.
I wrote down at one point, yes, there are ways I aspire to be like Forrest, which I did not remember thinking ever before watching this. You brought up it's the 50s through the 70s through the eyes of a child. Their way of writing his part to describe situations to where Forrest does not understand what's fully happening, but he describes it so we understand what's fully happening, like
with the imagery of the movie, which is why I think that it's a better movie than it would be book.
Yeah,
but keep
sure.
going.
Well, like the way he describes Jenny's dad.
Right.
Yeah, Jenny's dad loves them a lot. He's touching them all the time. We know what he's describing, but Forrest doesn't know what he's describing. There are 100 examples of that throughout the movie that are just written really, really well.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I wrote this. We're all in business. At least the three of us are all in business. And I wrote this: why do people fail? And what I'm thinking about is if someone has a dream, or if someone, you know, is in sales or building their business or any type of thing that we deal with on a regular basis, many people struggle or even fail because they listen to the naysayers and they believe the lies. Forrest doesn't care what people think. He just literally finds success everywhere because he does not care what people are saying, what they think. Even when he buys the shrimp boat, they're all like, "You're crazy." Right? Like, he literally does not, it doesn't even occur to him that he should listen to them, because this is the way it's supposed to be, and I'm going to do everything that I'm supposed to, and it's going to be successful eventually.
He's acting on integrity and integrity alone. Even when he gets all the money, he just ends up giving all of it away.
Yeah, because it wasn't about the money.
Can you imagine how much Cutco he'd sell for you, Brett?
Oh, man. Jeez, Peters. 1960s Alabama.
So
probably
much.
Go door to door back then.
Dude, how much was the Homemaker set in 1960?
Well, NIL wasn't a thing, so he wouldn't be able to work during college.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I just found a note. Okay, so earlier we talked about that quote from Forrest saying, "Won't I just be myself?" So the where that comes full circle is later with Lieutenant Dan, because Lieutenant Dan says to Forrest in the hospital, "I was Lieutenant Dan Taylor." And what does he say? "You're still Lieutenant Dan Taylor." So, you know, what is your identity is what I wrote down.
I thought Jenny and Lieutenant Dan's characters, their arcs were kind of opposite. They ended up in the same spot, but like Jenny is like Forrest's best friend, and they slowly pull away. And Lieutenant Dan, like, you know, Forrest is just another one of his goons to start. Let's just go through the motions. I kind of got the vibe, I don't know if you guys, that they wanted to depict Vietnam as kind of a joke to start with.
Yeah.
When they first got there. And then it's like, then slowly but surely, Lieutenant Dan comes around to Forrest. I cannot decide whether I like Jenny or not, or whether I'm mad at her, or I'm like happy for her, or if she deserves Forrest, or like I'm struggling with that relationship.
I'm kind of like mad for her though.
I'm mad for her.
You can't erase what she went through.
Correct.
Yeah.
You can't erase, and you honestly don't know how you would handle that. But at some point, she continues to make the wrong
self-destructive
decisions that hurt herself even more.
Yeah.
And Forrest continues to make the right decisions, and even every time she comes back to him, you can see that like her life is simple, and the decision she makes afterwards is overcomplicating it because she doesn't think that she can truly be happy living this simple life. And it makes me wonder, like, if she chose to do none of that, if she chose just to stay with Forrest the entire time, would she have been happy, or would she have just been thinking, I wish I could have tried, the hippie route, or, the other, all these other things that she ended up getting into? Would she have been content?
No. Well, would she have been content if she stayed with Forrest?
Yeah.
I guess
is that
that's
even
hard
an
to say.
option?
I don't know.
You made me think
It's
something
like
really
an alternate
funny.
universe, but I guess
It's not an alternate universe.
Well, I was
it's the
gonna
other
say-
option that would have happened if she wouldn't have kept choosing the wrong thing.
Yeah,
She
alternate
tells-
universe.
Well,
She tells Forrest that her dream is to be on stage, just her and her guitar.
Yeah.
So he
Yes.
walks,
Yeah.
he walks into this strip club,
He's like,
and
her dream
she's sitting
came-
there
her dream
naked
came
with this
true.
guitar. All these guys waiting for her to shut up and stop singing, and he goes, "There she was, living her dream." The reason I'm mad at Jenny is because the only time she writes back or reaches out, and when she needs something,
But she never asks for money.
I mean,
Money's not what she needs.
I'm just saying. Well, I bet she
Why
did.
But she's like, I'm happy for Forrest, but I just
You don't think
bugs
that's
me.
like her coming, like, each time that she's trying to, be better or better herself, is when she runs back to Forrest, and then she gets back into that self-destructive or addictive behavior because she doesn't believe that she deserves
Right.
Correct.
At the
that
end.
happiness.
At the end. Well, I mean, she says it at the end. It might be the entire time she doesn't feel like it.
Yeah. Well, I thought, I guess we can keep talking about this, but I thought something that was really interesting that she said that was at that exact same point in time in the movie is she says something like, "Why are you so good to me?" or something like that. And he says, "Because I love you.
You're my girl."
I love you." And she says, "Forrest, you don't know what love is." And at the time in the movie, I was like, well, I think he knows what love is way better than you do. Now, later on, that becomes something that becomes obvious. But at the time, you don't really know where it's heading. And I said, even though he might be simple or an IQ of 75 or whatever, like it doesn't matter. You know what love is.
Mm-hmm.
And he loves unconditionally, and I think that's really beautiful.
I'm not.
And
a
then
smart man.
she doesn't believe she's worthy of that love.
I agree with that. I also wrote down the question: is she distancing herself to protect him? I also is it deeper than that? But then also, if she never gets sick, does she even tell Forrest that he's got a son? Like, that ends up being like part of why she even invited him to come meet little Forrest. Is she's sick and she knows he's like, I don't know, man. Like, she gets pass in this movie for sure, 100%. And I don't know, like, good for her trying, but like, man, that's just bugs me.
You definitely feel like she blames her past, like when she goes to the old house and she throws rocks at it and just collapses. Like, she's in essence saying, "Look what I've become."
She's been dealing with those demons.
Yeah, no, it's justifiable. It's absolutely justifiable. 100%. 100% justifiable. It feels like Forrest gets used, but maybe that's my pride getting in the way of Forrest's unconditional love. Maybe that's what needed to happen for us to see that. That was something I kept coming back to.
Well, and this is why, I mean, not to belittle anything that you're saying about Jenny's side, but like the contrast between the way she deals with things and the way Forrest has not had an easy life.
No.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
you just think he has because of how he deals with it. I mean, his whole family is gone. His love keeps leaving him over and over again. He has war buddies that die in the war. Everything's taken away from him and then given back and then taken away again. But we think he can deal with it better because of who he is, but he's just dealing with it better. So at the height of his agony, where she's staying with him, they're dancing, they're like, hey, this is how the movie ends. And then she leaves again.
Yeah.
And he's sitting there in different rooms just staring like, what happened? What does he do? He gets up and he goes for a run. And that's like, we just have so much to
Dude,
learn.
not a
from
bad move when you're in a funk.
How he does life.
Yeah.
Well, that's what he
gets up and
says too, though.
moves.
By the way, he says
Motion creates emotion.
Yeah, he says you've got to. That's a quote from a movie that I haven't heard for a while. Boiler Room.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Let
Let us know if we should do Boiler Room.
Yeah,
I just want to watch. Give me a
do
reason
that
to
one
watch it.
tonight.
Give me a reason.
You guys, what are you guys doing later?
Give me a
I
reason.
could probably watch Boiler Room tonight. You have to put the. So he says this about the running is you have to put the past behind you before you can move on.
Mm-hmm.
Takes him 3.5 years to put the past behind him.
I was gonna say also ran for 3 years. So
Yeah. Before social media, but capitalizes on even that.
Yeah.
Makes a ton of people a ton of money.
another one of the struggles.
Nike.
More than Nike, the guy that creates the happy face shirt. The
Yeah.
guy that creates
The bumper sticker.
The bumper sticker.
Another one of his relationships is Lieutenant Dan, and one of the moments I wrote down about Lieutenant Dan was they're at New Year's Eve, they're partying, hanging out, and everybody's having fun celebrating New Year's Eve, and he's just sitting. I guess he's always sitting at this point at the bar. And he's just staring into oblivion, and everybody's having fun around him.
This is Forrest or Dan?
This is Dan, Lieutenant Dan, and it's like that's rough. Like I think we've all been there in a moment where we're in everybody's having fun around us, but we just are in this funk. We can't reason.
Yeah.
And then right after that, the girl is kind of coming on to Forrest. She smells like cigarettes, so he pushes her off. And they make fun of him all the way out, and Dan sticks up for Forrest and tells him to leave. And I think that tide turns shortly after you hit that bottom, that low, where he responded and was like, all right, hey, you ever become a shrimp boat captain? Like, I'm your first mate. And that was kind of the beginning of the second
rock
half.
bottom first.
Oh, man, yeah. And I don't know, like, to your point, Jenny had plenty of opportunities to make that shift. It took her many, many options. It felt like
She could have been his first mate.
Could have been.
Can I tell you my favorite my favorite Lieutenant Dan moment?
Oh, dude. I
Can
can't
we-
wait.
So there's
we
lots
guess
of
it?
Lieutenant Dan moments. But anybody that knows me, or anybody that knows me pretty well, knows that I love John Wooden and I love his quotes and things. Well, do you guys know what John Wooden used to teach all of his players the first day of practice?
Shoes.
Close.
Socks.
Socks.
Yep. Well, yep.
How to put on their socks.
Mm-hmm.
Because he said if you take care of your feet, if you don't take care of your feet, then you're no good to me, basically.
Yep.
Right? And I don't know if I've ever caught this before, but Lieutenant Dan, he's like, you basically have two rules, like don't die and take care of your feet. And he's telling them that they got to keep their socks dry and all this stuff. And I actually think that there's just a ton of really practical wisdom in there.
Yeah.
In the same way that Alan Alda's dad was like, hey, make sure that you find your places to sit down on stage.
Yep.
Right? Is you're going to war. You're going to be you're going to be hiking through all this water and everything else. What's the number one thing I want you to remember every day? Keep your feet dry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's a really big deal because you're no good to me if you get gangrene or whatever with your feet. And those kinds of, I just wonder, what are those practical things in our lives that maybe we need to pass down or whatever that are really important, really clear, but super easy, but it's those little things that you might not even think about.
So when you're coaching your sales reps or your kids, sometimes you got to literally break it down for them. Okay, how many calls are you going to make? 40. Okay. What could get in the way of you making 40 calls? Well, if I have to go to the bathroom, I could only make 35. Okay. Go to the bathroom now. Okay. Do you have 40 people to call? No, I only have 20. That's going to be a problem. Did you think about that? Right. So breaking it down to be let them know there's going to be things they have not thought about and they need to think about all of those things before they tackle something. That's something that, I love teaching my kids.
100%.
This is something you need to think about. And then when it happens, having a little bit of grace, but letting them know, hey, remember when we talked about this? So next time, to avoid this again, you need to plan ahead. And I love it when it comes together and they actually remember.
That actually really excites me to my kids eventually be at the age to watch these types of movies together, have those conversations. Oh man, that's awesome.
What are you guys reading any besides kids book? You probably are. Are you reading? Did you decide to read C.S. Lewis? to your kids, your older kids? I know you were talking
I'm
about...
not reading it to them this minute, no.
But you're going to read them Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, like...
We read that one. I've been working my way through, personally, I've been listening a little bit to A Horse and His Boy. I never knew how much I would like that movie, or that book. I read it a long, long time ago. But
I love reading fiction with my girls and then just pausing and saying, do you guys have any questions before we, go do our top 10 of the day? And then
we've been doing the Little House on the Prairie series with the girls, and then I've been doing Harry Potter with Reed.
Yeah, I love that.
Little House on the Prairie books. Interesting.
Are the I've never read the books. Are the episodes based off of books? Like,
yeah,
really?
Yeah. Your girls are perfect age. Willow and Charlie are the perfect age to get going on this.
Yeah.
The first one's called Little House in the Big Woods, and then there's like 7 or 8 books.
Yeah, I love that.
So I think we're on book 3 or 4.
It's gonna be super nostalgic for me, Brett. You've probably never seen a single minute.
Well, one of my babysitters used to watch it.
Oh, really?
Yes,
I loved Pa. Whenever Pa got real feisty in the Little House on the Prairie episodes.
Little Joe.
In the intro, is there one light left on? No, not that.
No
You're
idea.
talking about Harry Potter.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, I found this interesting, and I don't know how historically accurate this is. Nixon kind of bows out respectfully during the Watergate situation during the movie. He's just like, yep, it's happened. I'm going to not be president anymore. Awesome. It felt like, oh, wow, that was very mature. And do you think that will ever happen again?
I don't think you have the history of that whole situation.
Are you talking about how Joe Biden just said that he's resigning?
Right.
No.
Where is he, by the way?
But I mean, it just, I don't know. It felt like
he was impeached, and then
I don't know that it was a respect thing as much as
he didn't have a choice.
Yeah, I got to get out of here before.
Oh, got it. Okay. Yeah,
I did think that. I wrote all those little points down as hidden gems. Like, they're not really hidden, but like him saying, "Where are you guys staying?" It's, oh no, I know a much better hotel.
Yeah.
And then Forrest is like, hey, there's some guys with flashlights over there. That's so funny.
Yeah.
It just cracks me up that Forrest completely changes America.
Yeah, I know. Intersecting, how much money did the soundtrack cost?
Oh,
and
man.
Did the licensing to use, who's in charge of allowing them to use presidential footage? Do we know the answers to this?
Do they teach you this at
archive?
Con? It might be.
We better know this if we're going to Con.
Yeah, maybe Con will teach
this. I think that might be public.
Is this? I thought
this whole podcast is our journey to get to Con.
Did you guys? Once we get there, we're done. Did you guys? I don't know. I felt like this movie. Maybe it's just because it's 2024 and not 1994, but I felt like it was a little either overrated or only there for the time. Like, the soundtrack was awesome.
Soundtrack was amazing.
I could see how people that were 50 years old in 1994 would have been like, this is incredible. And it's the first movie that I can think of that goes through the decades like that in a way that's really similar. And by the way, 1995, Mr. Holland's Opus comes out and does the exact same thing. But I was asking Jessica, I was like, I think I might like Mr. Holland's Opus more than this movie. I just thought it was
I thought it was a wild concept. I wrote that down. What a wild concept. And then I thought they had at some point to think Tom Hanks would just save it if it ended up not being a good movie.
Right.
Tom Hanks is phenomenal in it.
I mean,
he's phenomenal.
His acting is so good in it. So I don't know. Is it a good movie?
He's really good, but it's just an okay movie.
I think incredible. To your point, at the time it was. I don't know anything else that was like this.
No.
And if
you
you're
guys are missing
40 or 50 in 1994, I think you would have just loved it because you're living your history.
If you don't let me talk, we're gonna get canceled because that take is not good. Because aside from if you're saying you're kind of like me last week when I was talking about how I don't like it when they change history when they didn't need to. I mean, this is blatantly changing many different. He was a part of things that.
I think that part of the movie is hilarious. I think
I went to meet the president.
I think I think it dumbs it down for you, because if you look at the story and the character archive and also what is actually happening in the poetic telling of the story. So, for instance, things like the parallelism to Bubba being on the bus and accepting him the same way Jenny did 10 years before that, right? Things like Lieutenant Dan wanting to be left in glory on the field and what happens to his character because of his relationship with Bubba. Like, this is not just wow, look how they told the history of 20-year span and Tom Hanks' good acting. Like, the story itself is awesome, even if you didn't integrate real history.
Yeah, I thought, to your point about the poetic part of it,
we'll agree to disagree.
There was also the way he described so many different things that would go just on and on and on. Bubba describing the shrimp goes on and on and on. Forrest describing the weather goes on and on and on and on in Vietnam. Forrest describing the beautiful sights he witnessed while running went on and on. It was a very, very interesting, cool theme. Bubba's shrimp. I remember being a kid and thinking that Bubba describing all the different types of shrimp went on for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
It's 35 seconds.
Yeah.
It's not that long.
But it's multiple
when you
days.
remember it, though. Yeah.
Yes, when you remember it,
yeah,
it's crazy. I just was like, oh, that's okay. It's 7 things. Okay, we're good. It's not that out of bounds. Last thing I had on thoughts, and then if you guys have any, we can move on. We can get to him and then move on. Lieutenant Dan, to your point, his instruction is don't die, don't get killed, and keep your feet dry. His only destiny, he believed, was to die.
Yeah.
And
not to die.
To die
with
in
his
glory with his on the battlefield.
Sure. It reminds me of, I'm a big Hamilton fan, love Hamilton. Washington is talking to Alexander Hamilton. Again, I don't know if this takes your history too far removed from what actually happened, but he's like, hey, dying is easy, young man. Living is harder. And I don't know. I think Dan just had this, I'm supposed to die. He just can't get over the fact that he has to live after this war. Mm-hmm. He just cannot get over it. Mm-hmm. Once his legs are gone, his pride is just cut out from under him. He has no other option. It takes him a while. But he gets there.
So the storm,
his entire identity was wrapped up in that.
It was. It really, really was.
So the storm is interesting because the storm scene where he's basically cursing at God and saying, it's you and me, big guy, let's do this. And they decide to survive the storm. And the way they survive the storm, and all the other shrimp boats were destroyed because they were close to shore.
Yeah.
And that one little thing, I don't know if they were trying to position it in the movie like their decision to, go at the storm or challenge God was the reason why they were able to come out on top. But essentially, there was no other shrimping boats, so they dominated the shrimping industry. And I was trying to figure out what are they trying to teach us a lesson there? Like, are you weathering the storm is actually more admirable, facing the tsunami, or was that just a coincidence? Because it wasn't just Dan. It wasn't just Dan. Dan had a pivotal change in that moment, but it was also good for their business. Were they trying to teach us?
Isn't that kind of what the whole movie is about, though? He talks about it at the end. Can't remember if they talk about it at the beginning, but it was, is there such a thing as destiny, or are we just floating all around here, accidental, like the feather, right?
What a
that
great
question,
movie.
That question's not really answered, but I think that
I think Forrest says I think it's a little bit of both.
He does say, it's a little bit of both. So, I think that Forrest is floating around accidental, being very present. I think that Dan is dealing with a lot of things. He lets his anger out. He lets his anger go at God. And Forrest is just, following along, really. Even though he's the skipper of the boat or whatever, he's like, Lieutenant Dan said to go to this storm over there. That's where we're going to go. And it ended up being a hurricane that they went through. And, that was Dan's. Okay, well, I made it through this, and now all of a sudden I come into this massive fortune and everything else. And for Forrest, he's just like, well, yeah, I just listened to what they had to say, So I don't know. It's just the floating accident, like the destiny piece.
Dan would have had just as much joy in the next scene if they were the only boat left or not. Like, I feel like that was a pivotal. Maybe it's a little bit of movie
just because they made it through.
Just because I don't know. He submitted. It was just like, all right, like you win. Like, all right, cool, whatever. What's next?
Mm-hmm.
Like in the scene shortly after that, he's doing backstrokes by himself, just total peace.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think regardless of.
Did you guys think that he was just gonna like? I literally had a moment. I was like, I thought Dan came back. I thought he was just gonna disappear. I thought he was just gonna keep riding off into the sunset, just backstroking,
like Hook and
like I
Peter
forgot.
Pan.
Like I forgot that piece, and I was like, oh, I wonder.
Okay.
Does he just leave right here?
I have a piece of movie magic for you.
Yeah.
Forrest sees Dan for the first time on the dock, coming back to be his first mate, jumps off the ship, swims to him. He's like, hey, and the ship comes back the opposite direction.
Yeah.
How?
Yeah. That is possible though, because like if you're not there manning it and something hits the rudder, it could turn back around.
Yeah.
So is that something that a producer, director, editor is just like, look, it's going to cost X amount
to go the
to
other
do
way.
this. We could try mirroring the shot, but what do you want to do?
But that is the scene of
That's my boat.
Brian Ramsey's favorite quote. That's my boat.
That's my
Yeah. That's all right. It's gonna pain me to say this, and Marcus, Brett was right.
Hey,
It was based off of a novel.
Let's go.
So Tom Hanks signed on to this film after an hour and a half of reading the script, but agreed to take the role only in the condition that the film was historically accurate. That's one for Rem right there.
Historically, creatively accurate.
Well,
right.
I mean,
so he's not changing
You're
anything.
changing
He's
history,
just there to witness it. It's the only thing that's actually
he did
changed.
make the call to report Watergate, but yes.
True. He initially wanted to ease Forrest's pronounced Southern accent, but was eventually persuaded to portray the heavy accent stress in the novel, and he patterned his accent after Michael Connor Humphrey's young Forrest, which we already knew from the beginning of the episode, but it was based off of a novel.
Oh, man. Love getting W's on a Monday night.
Nice little dub.
Yeah, thank you. Anything else before quotes?
What are we on? What?
We got quotes, then hidden gems.
What made you think? Or
what made you think? You got any more things that made you think?
Oh, I did think.
Or unanswered questions.
I wrote this down. He proves the 10,000 hour rule. So we already talked about Outlier. We already talked about Malcolm Gladwell, but he proves the 10,000 hour rule, right? Football, cleaning, gun assembly, ping pong, running.
Yes.
He's just so dogmatic. He obsesses over it and gets really good at it. I thought
he looks really good playing ping pong, by the way.
Yeah, and you know what? He probably embodied. You talk about like embodying the character. He probably embodied the character and just really got good at ping pong on set. Anytime they weren't doing any of the takes. I also wrote this down. Walking away from fire. There's nothing more epic than walking away from fire than carrying a friend away while you're walking away from explosions of fire.
Dude, he carried so many people out of that.
Yeah.
The only time I remembered him saying, and that's all I have to say about that, is when he's on the stage at the Washington Monument.
So funny.
But he actually says it 3 other times in the movie.
Oh, he says it more than
I didn't. And then the guy's like, so it was a bullet, right? That bit you in the butt? And that like, it's like, oh, well, yeah, I guess we'll carry on this story.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize.
He says it when he's talking about how Bubba dies. He says it at pretty pivotal times.
He also says he died like 14 times.
Did you guys know what millionaire wound was or whatever?
Yeah.
I did. I had to look. I don't ever look stuff up during the movie, but I was like,
so can I guess?
I need to look this up because I won't remember.
It's called the $1 million wound.
Is it where you would get insurance money from the army? No.
No.
Okay.
It's it's basically, they called it the $1 million wound. I think it started in Vietnam because it was a wound that ensured you went home but didn't die.
Essentially like a flesh wound that wasn't consequential.
But you weren't able to fight.
But you went home instead.
Because especially in Vietnam, and we haven't talked about this yet, and I thought we would go here, like that was such a controversial war. And if you read up on, soldiers returning from Vietnam, that was the first time that really America didn't handle veterans coming back the right way.
We should do Rambo.
Because as they come back, they are basically fighting the government, you got the Black Panthers, and you've got everyone who's divided on this. And instead of taking it out just on the government who's sending them over there, they started taking it out on returning soldiers. And the soldiers were coming back like thinking, hey, I served my country. Yeah. And everyone's like upset about it and treating them poorly. And that's kind of, what started that, like what you said, Rambo, like that whole.
We should do Rambo.
Yeah.
Brett's probably never seen Rambo.
No, I saw Rambo with you
when he was 5.
Well,
that was Rambo 4.
Dude, amazing is what it was.
Yeah, he killed a lot of people.
A lot of blood squirts in Rambo 4.
Blood squirts galore. There were some blood squirts in Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
Not as many though.
Kelsey, close your eyes.
Yeah.
Blood squirts.
And that was all I wrote down that made me think. Great soundtrack. I mean, it's
a great soundtrack.
Are so good. I didn't realize how good it was. Like there's some in the Ramsey household there was 3 soundtracks we listened to on Saturdays while we cleaned the house, which I felt like took 8 hours. It probably didn't. It just felt like it did.
I feel like also on top of the soundtracks was the Commodores.
The Commodores?
Am I crazy? Wasn't the Commodores in the playlist?
No.
No?
Carpenters?
Carpenters? Oh, Carpenters were.
Maybe?
Yeah. I don't know. The Commodores are.
Here's what's
Karen
great
Carpenter.
is that Brett is married into the family, and Brett doesn't know. Marcus has never been a part of the family,
but
has no idea, but just knows because somehow we had the same upbringing.
Rainy days and Mondays.
Rainy days and Mondays.
Yes, that makes sense. Yes. But so who's the American Idol judge?
It's
not Karen Carpenter. She died.
Nope. L. It starts with an L. The guy that sings
like Forrest Gump.
The guy that sings "Hello."
Oh, Lionel.
Is he in the Commodores?
I don't know, dude.
Yes, I think so.
I didn't listen to that. I think the Carpenters.
Your mom has listened to the Commodores before Lionel Richie. Done.
Tammy Ramsey's a saint.
Tammy, could you please email us at thecoverpod@gmail.com?
All right, so Remember the Titans was the first one. My Girl was the second one that we would listen to. And what's that one with Lindsay Lohan where she's got 2 sisters? She plays both
Freaky
parts.
Friday?
No, it's Parent Trap.
Parent Trap. Yep. So those were the 3 soundtracks that we listened to.
Is for the way you look.
It was a great soundtrack, but you know what? I know every song in this soundtrack.
Man, Lindsay Lohan had a
Forrest
run.
Gump.
She did.
She had a run.
We talked about doing Mean Girls.
Yeah. Herbie.
My Girl.
Herbie.
I can't remember much about. Spoiler alert. Does the boy die from like bee stings?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where Kelsey skips all the sad parts and all the blood squirts. She can't watch that movie.
She skips sad. So her and I probably have something in common. I get anxious watching movies
that are sad.
Yeah, or like that are sad, and or I get uncomfortable for the character.
I get annoyed if it's unrealistic and it doesn't happen the way I think it should.
Yeah,
I'm a realist.
Like
I love AMC for that reason. Like if you watch, you always talk about USA, which is perfect for your personality because it's a predictable plot line that the good guys always win in the end. Yep. But like AMC came out with shows like Breaking Bad,
like Walking type
Dead,
stuff.
Anti-hero, and unpredictable deaths and realistic endings where you're just not going to be happy at the end. But to the point of the fact that our story is right here in the middle. If you take the rest of the people that live through that, like their story's just beginning. So I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Peanut Butter Falcon.
I love that movie.
Good
but
movie.
Didn't it make you mad that they made the throw unrealistic?
I don't know why they did that. It was so unnecessary.
It's so funny.
It was so unnecessary.
I'm like, oh, he's going to do...
What? Just so dumb. So
I
dumb.
think they were like, we got to show this kid strength. Oh, this is harder than we thought it was going to be. We didn't think about this. We rewrite the whole movie.
Oh man.
Oh, so yeah, we're on the
Peanut
same
Butter
page.
Falcon's really good.
Let's dive into quotes. We'll get back to some things we thought about during Hidden Gems, I'm sure.
So I'm going to start us with quotes.
Yeah, please.
Because we all have a friend who's watched like 4 movies.
Mm-hmm.
His name's Jim McGowan. Just call him out right now.
Yeah.
And he'll always say,
I already know. Let's say it on
Seats.
three. Oh, dang. All right,
he'll always say, seats taken. And I'll be honest, like, I thought that was from a different movie.
I did too.
Hey,
And honestly,
When I saw this, I was like, oh.
and then what's the line right after seats taken?
Can't sit here.
Can't sit here. So I forgot Jim did it because Brett always quotes Jim. So I always thought it was Brett's quote, and I forgot it came from Forrest
I
Gump.
didn't realize
as
it
soon
came
as they
from
said
Forrest
it.
Gump.
So we're watching the
Seats
movie.
taken.
We set it up our projector. We got this from you guys. We set our projector up and watched it on our what's that called?
Garage
door.
Oh, nice.
And set up a fire. It was really fun. And I distinctly remember that line happening, and I almost fell out of my camping chair. I was laughing so hard.
I was like,
no
wow, I
way.
can't believe Jim watched a 2.5-hour movie.
Marcus, I think this speaks to this movie's popularity and how many people love it if Jim's seen it.
Yeah, I
someone
mean,
who
you've
watched
seen
4
that
movies.
one, Mighty Ducks,
He talks, yes.
That's a-
Sandlot
Sandlot.
and Rookie of the Year.
All
Rookie
great
of the Year.
movies.
Yep.
All
Yeah.
great movies.
Mhm.
Yo mama sure do care about your education.
Are you gonna finish it?
No, go ahead.
Finish it the way Forrest did.
No, I'm good. We used to say "Run, Forrest, run," like every day. in
Yeah.
elementary
Yeah.
school.
Yeah.
That was a. Now, what we didn't say, which is even funnier, was I was running.
I was running.
So good.
You have to hit the G hard. At the
Okay.
end.
Yeah.
Running.
Yeah, that was one of those quotes that, it gave, those jokes that a generation will tell the younger generation, and then they'll go home and tell their parents, and the parents are like, we gave them that quote.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
that's one of those lines. That's
Yep.
one of those lines in the movie where, like, your kids will come home one day and say, they said, run, Forrest, run, and we all laughed so hard. Have you ever heard that? That's one of those lines.
Rem, what you got?
Quiet. He's going to say something. I'm pretty tired. I think I'll go home now. And then the line right after that is, now what are we supposed to do?
Which I think, remember the first dude that joined him?
Yeah.
The very, very first guy.
Is that who says that?
I think it's the guy who says
That's who
it at
that's
the very
supposed to
beginning.
be?
Yeah.
Wow. well,
It was a shorter dude. Yeah.
yeah.
Wow, he ran a long time with him.
I just love that he walks because he's in
Yeah.
the middle of the desert. And so now he just
starts walking.
walks.
Another quote I really loved. I gotta find Bubba. He's running back into the fire.
I got it. Yeah. That's the only time in the movie where he, doesn't do what he's told to do.
Yeah.
That's
Oh.
what I noticed.
Well,
How
he's
about-
keeping his integrity.
Right.
Right.
His original,
Yes.
this is trumping what you're
Yes.
saying now because
Yes.
I originally said that.
Yep.
How about sorry for ruining your Black Panther party?
Yeah. Yeah.
How about in he's telling about all the guys that are in his company or whatever, and he says Dallas from Arizona, Cleveland from Detroit, and Tex.
Couldn't remember.
I don't remember where he's from.
Yeah, that was good. That was good. I don't remember where Texas is from.
So I thought the coolest scene of the movie, at least at the time that it happened, was
feather.
What's that?
The feather.
Keeps
when
coming back to the
when
feather.
Jenny yells out "Force!" and they're at the Washington Monument, he ends his speech, and the whole crowd is like, they couldn't hear him because they unplugged all his mics, and then finally he's jumping out, and as soon as they embrace, everybody goes wild, and he goes, "It was the happiest moment of my life." I love that scene. I don't remember loving that scene. I loved that scene. However, to piggyback on this, to hate on Jenny even more.
Wait, hold on.
Yep.
Because if that's where you're going, I
Yep.
also love that scene. I get chills
Yeah.
at the pinnacle of that scene because it's so beautiful. It's
Yeah.
so cool. Like, in order for her to come through the water,
Yep.
so that she can be heard and he can see that it's her, and he has no idea she's there, and it
Yeah.
just changes everything.
Man, my heart breaks for her. I wanna, however, She goes, "Why are you so good to me?" He says, "You're my girl." And she turns and goes back to this other dude who just slapped her in the face and says, "I'll always be a girl." And my note for that one is, gotta look out for those ones. Lived that story
Say no more.
many times.
Stupid is as stupid
If you're listening
does.
to this, if you're listening to this and you are of teenage or college years, and some
Watch
girl
out
ever
for that one.
says, some girl ever says, no matter who we're dating for the rest of our lives, it's you and me. Don't just run fast. Run quickly.
How about this? I love this. He's talking about Lieutenant Dan. He says, because he didn't have any legs, he spent most of his time exercising his arms. And you see Lieutenant Dan in the background just
Taking
drinking
a drink.
all the time.
Piggyback on that one, Lieutenant Dan, when Forrest is pushing him through New York City, and so he's pushing Lieutenant Dan's wheelchair, and this cab, they run out in front of a cab. Lieutenant Dan smacks the cab and goes, "I'm walking here!" Quotes?
Mom always said life is like a box of chocolates. Never know what you're going to get.
That first girl listening to his story did not give him the respect he deserved.
Is that the younger one or the older one?
younger-
Someone just read the magazine.
The older
read the
one
writ-
couldn't get enough.
Nurse or whatever.
Well, once he showed the Fortune 500
That was
magazine,
so
she's
Fortune
like,
500?
was it Fortune 500?
I
Yeah.
think it's just Fortune.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Fortune magazine, and then it's like, oh wow, okay,
This is
you're
true.
really him. This is true.
Yeah.
Right
But
after
she
that
was
guy
even
gets
into it
up,
even then
right,
she
you
thought-
want to see a picture of Lieutenant Dan? It shows him the Fortune.
Can you believe it? We've been sitting
Cover
next to a
of Fortune.
gazillionaire. Yeah.
Yeah, I got more money than something I can't remember.
Davy Crockett.
David
We
Crockett.
got more
I
money
got
than
more
Davy
money than
Crockett.
David Crockett. That's
he-
so good.
He says it in the first swell of confidence that we ever hear him say, "We got more money than David Crockett."
Yeah.
He got a daddy named Forrest too.
Yeah. That's so funny. And his face during that whole scene is
That
incredible.
was amazing acting.
Yeah.
That is
that
good
was
acting.
amazing acting.
Well,
He's
because the
backing up.
camera
because
stays on him.
It does.
Yeah.
And you can see the autistic mind trying to reason, trying to
Oh, man.
understand, and oh man.
There's a point like when we did A Knight's Tale, it was Joaquin Phoenix's ability to be crazy and powerful at the
That's
same time.
Gladiator.
But I said Joaquin. Oh, got it. Yes, that too. In Gladiator, which was a 7 out of 9.
Which was what?
7 out of 9.
Yeah.
Dude, his ability in that scene, I remember just being like, "Whoa, dude!"
Yeah.
If all of us I don't know about you guys. Maybe I'm speaking too much of a broad stroke. All of us have been like, I could act.
Yeah.
Like I could act. I could.
Yeah. I like
and then you
that.
watch that scene, you're like, I could not act. There's
Yeah.
that.
It
that
reminds
is-
me a lot. We said Denzel, but there's this moment in Glory where Denzel is getting whipped, and he produces a tear that comes down his face, and like with the camera on him,
Do
and
you know
it's
what he's
just, like,
thinking about?
unbelievable.
That I feel like I could do.
You could create a tear?
Yeah.
Really?
I thought about any of my children being hurt, I could cry.
Yeah, but in that
I don't know.
moment, why would you think about that? If you're in the moment of acting, it's kind of hard to think
You
about
got to
that.
channel some. I'm sure you don't think they channel something in their
I
real
think they
life.
channel something, but I don't know if they can get so deep as to think about like something like. I mean, maybe
because
I'm
that would
wrong.
take them out of character. You're saying.
Yeah, I think
Got
because
it.
now you're not that character. You're yourself thinking about that.
You
So
need to
I would
find
just
your
only
Hecuba.
do movies where my
You gotta
kids are
find.
getting
You gotta
hurt.
find your Hecuba.
So there's this scene in Fresh Prince. Have you guys read Will?
Oh yes. Well, I haven't read Will,
I haven't
but I
read
know the
Will.
scene you're talking about.
So there's a scene in one of the most epic episodes where his dad comes into his life again, and then at the end of the episode, Uncle Phil's trying to protect him. He's like, "This guy's bad news," without saying he's trying to be there
Yep.
for him, and the dad bails on him again. And Will's being coached by who's the guy who plays Uncle Phil? Anyways,
I don't know his name, but-
being coached by
Uncle Phil.
He's supposed to be like the main actor on the show.
Yeah.
And James Avery. And James is basically coaching Will through the scene. He's like, do it again, do it again. And the third time, basically, Will channels something about his real life.
Yep.
And just says, why doesn't my dad want me? And he cries and he loses it. And
Yep.
Uncle Phil hugs him. And And in that scene, he whispers to Will Smith in real life, "That's freaking acting." And like you can see it. You can see it on the actual, like what they chose to air.
Because "Why doesn't my dad want me?" that was not written in the script.
Right. Like
correctly,
basically,
right?
like he's not. Like, I guess Avery's not pleased with like the take, is he's like, you have got to break down. You got to lose it. And finally, Will Smith is just like. He loses it.
Yeah, you have to actually lose it. Like you're not performing. You're not.
Yeah.
It's you.
This
are
is you.
the character.
Yeah.
Which is extremely difficult.
Right.
To get there.
Dad walks out on Will. Scumbag. Jenny walks out on Forrest. 4 chances. I'm just saying, it doesn't add up. It's not fair.
Is it only 4?
There's redemption
Seems
in
like
the end,
more.
though.
It is more. Yeah, it is more. Just kidding. 70 times 7.
That's right.
490. That is significant. I just found that out. Ready to move on to hidden gems? More.
I got a good transitional quote that is a hidden gem.
Ooh, I like it.
He answered the box of chocolates at the end of the movie, and he goes, "I ate some."
I like that too.
That one got me so good because it's such a real human movement. Like he's
for
sitting there.
sure Remington move.
Oh,
no
for
doubt
sure.
about it.
He's sitting there on that bench.
No
telling
way
this
does
epic
Remington make it
story.
that long on
They
that
don't
bench without
show
eating
him.
some.
They don't show him eating the chocolates.
Yeah, he
at
eats.
all.
Yeah, he eats one
Oh,
of
they
them.
do?
Yeah.
Oh, I
He eats
missed
one of
it.
them when he offers it to the first girl read the magazine.
Oh man, I totally missed that. But even still, when he
Yeah.
chooses to tell her that, it's just so funny.
Did you notice the first time he opened up his suitcase before he says a word?
Yeah.
Every single item from his journey is in that suitcase. There's
Yeah.
a ping pong paddle. There's
And they
a
end up
mag-
going back to it again, but I wrote down that too.
Oh.
I wrote it down right
Again,
away.
it's just like a kid. Have you ever unpacked your kid's backpack when they're just going to the park?
Yep.
well, not just a kid, but talk about
One single sock, a hairbrush for a doll that's not in there,
Yeah, dude, it's crazy, and like
Yeah.
each thing means something.
a golf ball that I couldn't find that
Yes.
is now in their bag.
Yeah.
Every time you saw the doctor, what did he have? Cigarette in his mouth.
Yeah.
Every single scene, kind of really taking us back to there.
Did you think it was silly that they kept calling him a gardener on the news when he was running? A gardener from Alabama.
Well,
like,
is
why?
it-
Why did they choose to focus on anything other than the fact that he's a war hero? He's an Alabama football star.
He's famous for Bubba Gump shrimp.
He's famous. He's rich. Like, why would they say a gardener? Like,
I
what
thought it was
were they
funny,
trying?
too.
That had to be a specific reason that they chose to do that. Did you guys catch?
Well,
that
this is
even?
after he gets the job from the city mowing the field, right? This
Yeah.
is so that's yeah. I don't know.
Well,
but I did
he's-
notice it, but I don't know.
I thought it was hilarious that instead of watching the moon landing, they're all watching
Yes.
Forrest Gump playing ping pong.
Yes.
I thought that was hilarious. Like most important moment for all of their lives, you know.
When he's
They
at
were watching him play ping pong.
the Washington Monument about to give that speech, and there's like 45 mics in front of him, and he looks at every single one of them for
Yeah.
about 4 seconds before he decides which one to talk into.
There's one thing I can say about Vietnam.
So this was a fun fact that we said in The Patriot, or I don't know if we said it, but this might have been the reason why we were originally thinking about doing Forrest Gump. But that house is the same house in The Patriot.
Oh.
And I thought I was.
It does look the same.
It is.
Yeah.
I told Kelsey, I was like, "Is this the same house from Notebook?" And she was like, "No, it is not the same house from Notebook." I was like, well, "You say so," but I remember there being something about this house, so I looked it up. It's the same one from The Patriot.
Dude, absolutely, I can see it now.
We could do their Notebook. That'd be interesting. It's not on the list yet.
Seen it for sure. Probably made out with someone during most of it,
Yeah.
but seen
Why
it.
are you looking at
Sure.
Marcus right now?
Uh,
Hey, so where does this rank in Tom Hanks movies?
Well, can I give you another hidden gem real quick?
Yeah.
This is an important one because my wife Jessica brought this up. She said, "You know what's crazy is they really nailed it with the big bus steps." She goes, "Remember when you were a little kid?
Yeah,
how
really get
huge
up
the
on that
bus
bus."
steps seemed." I was like, "No, I don't remember that, but I'll mention it on the podcast just for you."
She's
so
saying,
there you go, babe.
She's saying that the shot of the view of the kid makes the steps look really like
Yeah,
how
the
big
kid
as
that
they
sees
were.
dead
just like
people?
the school
Yeah.
bus steps
How about-
are very large.
Yeah,
How about the kid that can see dead people playing Little Forrest?
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Did
My
a great
name's
job.
Forrest Gump.
To the little kid who plays Little Forrest, the head tilts at the same time when Forrest sits down to watch TV with him.
Yeah.
Like those little things are pretty great.
Those are cool hidden
Pretty
gems.
awesome.
Fishing together.
Yep. Last thing I had, bird. I mean, you guys probably noticed it, but the birds flying away when he leaves Jenny's grave at the very, very end.
Yeah.
And then turns into the feather.
No, yeah. Well, the bird's flying away. Make me a bird.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
We've talked about actors that turn down the roles. So for this particular role, Bill Murray, John Travolta, and Chevy Chase all turned down the role of Forrest Gump. Between those three, Bill Murray, John Travolta, and Chevy Chase, who do you think could have played it best?
Man, I would say Chevy Chase. I can't picture Travolta.
I can't picture Travolta at all. I can picture
Interesting.
Bill Murray.
I would
Bill Murray
say
basically plays him in What About Bob, only a less aggressive
I just think
version.
of Bill Murray being so funny.
I
all
would
the
say
time.
that I would have thought that Travolta would have been the best of them.
Really? What
So
makes
what,
you think
what
that?
Travolta are you thinking of? Like
Yeah.
when you think of him,
What
what's the movie you
movie?
go to? Do you think of?
He's really versatile.
Can you give me a for instance? Because he's in
what's the
Grease,
movie?
and then he's a bad boy, and like I don't really feel like
No,
much in between.
no. There's lots of other stuff in between. But the movie I'm thinking of is like where he gets like struck by lightning or something, and then he becomes super smart and can read everything all the time.
Mm.
It's called like not paranormal. I don't. Hold on, I'll figure it out. But yeah,
So he's pretty versatile.
I'm not.
I'm thinking Face Off. I'm thinking
Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction. So here's what's interesting. Pulp Fiction.
taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3.
Revitalized his career. So Travolta was Saturday Night Live. He was
Peaked early,
Grease,
right?
Peaked early, and then had a bunch of stinkers and was on his way out. And Quentin Tarantino revived his career with the role that he played in
That's
Pulp
cool.
Fiction, which would have been this year, right? So he turned this away. I'm not sure that.
Oh yeah, they would have been about the same time. Yeah.
I'm not sure the timing of the filming, but he definitely made the right move.
Yeah.
Turning this down and going for Pulp Fiction.
I also think that even if they had a choice, that whoever cast Forrest Gump made a tremendous move as well.
Did you guys catch who the voice of Elvis Presley was?
No.
Kurt Russell.
Oh,
Uncredited.
So wait, that was a voiceover.
Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. I like that scene a lot.
dude, Kurt Russell's been doing movies for a long time.
Yes. He has.
Holy cow. We ready to get into ratings?
Yeah, I can do that. You got any other
How
hidden
about
gems? and
John
Manges?
Travolta and Hairspray?
Was he in?
I'm not saying he's not a versatile actor. I'm just saying I don't know how he would have brought this character to life the way the other three mentioned would have.
I think I'm stuck thinking about him in. They did an O.J. Simpson miniseries.
Oh yeah, he was.
He was amazing. He was the lawyer.
He was Hilton.
Man, he
Or
was
not Hilton.
Phenomenon. That's the
He was,
movie.
he was Robert Kardashian.
Phenomenon.
Or no,
is the
no,
movie.
No, he wasn't
he
Robert
wasn't.
Kardashian. He was the other lawyer. He was like the big shot.
The big shot lawyer. That's right.
And I can't stop thinking about him in that movie, and I can't picture him as Forrest Gump. I just can't.
Well,
Anyway, Phenomenon is the movie I'm thinking of.
Phenomenal.
Phenomena. But
Yep.
right, guys.
Yeah.
Ratings 1 to 9. Man, we got to do that one.
Inglourious Bastard.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
got
for sure.
There's so many got
On a scale of Pearl Harbor to what's been our only 9 together as a group?
Collectively all 9.
Wasn't it Boys in the Boat?
Boys in the Boat. So on a
Yeah.
scale from Pearl Harbor, Ben Affleck to
to
Boys
the
in the
movie,
Boat.
no,
No,
not
to
the
the
movie.
book,
The
Boys in the
Boys
Boat.
in the Boat.
Yeah. Who's going first?
7 for me.
Yeah, 7 for me too.
Yeah, I would give it like a 7.3.
It would be between 7 and 8 for me.
Yeah, 7.3, I think.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed watching
yeah,
it.
I like the movie, but
It's pretty
It did not-
interesting.
it was
take
not
you
a
have
nine.
when
It
you
was
think
not
it's
an-
overrated.
it was not a 9. Yeah.
So let me ask it.
So that's
this
what I'm
way.
saying. It won like 6 Academy
It
Awards.
should have. It really should have. But when you say it's overrated, where is it overrated? Where could it have been better, or where do you feel like people think it's awesome and it's not?
I don't know. I think much of it, much of the I guess, plot that you're talking about that's like really interesting. Like, I feel like a lot of those plot lines are fairly cliche, and that's all. Is that, and I don't know if that's just me viewing it. I don't know if that's me unfairly viewing it in 2024 and not 1994.
Well, I mean, you've got these plot lines like The Great Gatsby. You've got these classic lines where, like, it's this interwoven thing, and you find out all these secrets that make the entire thing come true at the end for the whole movie. It's not going to be like that. So
I mean, Tom Hanks drives the whole movie. Like, without him acting, without him doing such a great job, I don't know that it's.
But here's my thing: if you take out the shots of the presidents and the assassination attempts and the real footage, if you take all of that out, the movie is even better for me. Like, I don't think those. I think it was funny and it was good, but it was the historical events that it was like. It was showing up to the Washington Monument and seeing the droves of people who were fighting, like, and screaming peace. And, you know, those kinds of protests, that wasn't real footage. That was remade, and it puts you there.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't need the real footage for it to be an awesome movie.
No, I guess I was talking about just like the relationships, the back and forth between him and Jenny, the whether it's the relationship with his mom or even Lieutenant Dan. Like, it's not bad. It was not like it was poorly done or anything, but it's kind of cliche. I felt like it was a little boring.
I wonder how you would feel if you were alive when those moments were on TV.
Well, that's what I was saying. Is
that would be
like,
well, no, but would you love it or would you hate it?
Yeah,
I think that I could be wrong. It's not like I'm a historian of film or anything, but I can't remember.
You've never been invited to Cannes.
I can't remember any other films that were like this that spanned through the decades and told that history
across the universe.
And so I was trying to think of myself. No, I'm saying before this, like before 1994.
Yeah. So this was like, it started it.
And so it was new and it was fresh, at least from what I could tell. It was an interesting way.
That's what I was going to ask you, is like, okay, so without Forrest Gump,
if I was like 40 or 50,
yeah, but without Forrest Gump ever existing, I feel like it wouldn't have opened the doors for a lot of other movies like you're talking about that now have this new way of sharing stories and telling stories through a decade and actually explaining what happened during that time.
Or multiple decades, like The Butler does that. And that's a really interesting film.
This sounds like a great opportunity for our more wise listeners to email thecoverpod@gmail.com.
We have an email address?
And tell us, hey, when it first came out, it was the first movie of its kind. What was the reception? Why was it such a big deal? I personally love it because I remember and know zero history, so I learned stuff during it. And I just, ever since...
Hold on. What did you learn?
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
Clearly not enough about Richard Nixon. That was misleading.
Misleading.
Two, I'm in awe of these, and I don't know, it's a whole team. I'm sure it's not just a director or whoever, but if obviously this was a novel. Like, the ability to work a character into all these, you have all these situations you want to work into this, and you find a way to be able to do it. It just
to cohesively tell a story.
Man, it's so great.
Yeah,
it's so great.
I mean, I love that.
That's my
that's
respect level.
That's one of the reasons that I love film. In general, but we all rated it pretty similarly.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think it's a good film. I think more than anything, it's very much in Americana.
Yeah.
I mean, like, Jim McGowan has seen this movie.
We're not rating for the sake of the public. We're rating on our own
what we
personal
think.
taste.
Correct. Yeah.
And we all watch pretty similar movies for the most part. So if you're like, in some variances, some differences, I'm interested to get into some of the art house films and some of the
that'll be interesting.
Yeah, the books. But
Rem, can you pull up our spreadsheet? I'd love to tell our listeners what we got coming up next. I know for sure within the next few episodes, you will be listening to us discuss Educated.
Yeah.
Which has been a wild ride so far for me. I'm about 25% in.
Oh my
Rem's
God.
about the same. Marcus looking at me like you don't even know yet.
Yeah, you really don't.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's what I'm told.
I'm ready for this book to get deep and dark and horrible.
So we get a lot of movies told to us, like what movies we should read. I think some of our best episodes have actually been the books, and they're just completely different episodes.
Yep.
And so send us your books. So we've got a couple biographies. I think biographies are really strong for this podcast. Shoe Dog by Phil Knight, Seductive Poison, which is the drinking the
We probably
Kool-Aid.
shouldn't do Educated and Seductive Poison
back to back.
Dude. I'm 25% in, man.
Between a Rock and a Hard Place.
Yeah, have you ever read that?
No, what's that?
That's that Aaron Ralston, I think is his name. The guy that was out hiking in Utah or whatever, and his leg gets stuck.
Is that
And
127 hours? The same
yes,
thing?
the movie is 127 hours. The book is Between a Rock and a Hard Place.
I have read that.
Jeff Bry gave me that book.
Yeah.
Or recommended it to me or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, I remember.
Sam Walton, Made in America. Am I Being Too Subtle? I don't know what that is.
I don't know if that's a biography or not. Oh, yeah, I guess it is. Yeah.
11 Rings, Phil Jackson, phenomenal.
That was great.
Unbroken, phenomenal.
Three Ring
great
Circus
movie, too.
about Phil, Kobe, and Shaq, also very great.
That's a new one?
That's another. It's a Bruce Perlman, I think is his name. I think he wrote 11 Rings as well, but I could be wrong.
And just throwing out some
I
movies
thought
out there.
Phil Jackson was 11 Rings.
Count of Monte Cristo was added.
I think so.
Is it?
That's a great one.
Big
Short.
Are they remaking Count of Monte Cristo? Because I think that I just saw that a Count of Monte Cristo is coming out soon.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, we should actually
Count of Monte Cristo,
find out
Shawshank
before we start the
Redemption.
podcast.
Oh, Shawshank is great.
Yeah, 2024 is coming out with Pierre. It's a foreign film.
Oh, okay.
So we had when we put up the poll for Forrest Gump or Ocean's 11, Forrest Gump won. I mean,
I was surprised by that. I was surprised by that.
I think I might give Ocean's 11, especially at the time.
Oh, for
might
sure.
get a higher rating.
I enjoy watching it. I understand the importance of the film Forrest Gump.
Yeah, I agree.
And I understand why everyone loves it. I personally would rather watch Ocean's 11.
Well, I think Forrest Gump has a place in history of filming, but the number of people that voted for Forrest Gump and then DM'd me and was like, "But you guys have to do Ocean's 11. Like, I want to see Ocean's 11." So I think that was a very too strong. I think Ocean's 11, it was a really, really awesome one seed that just ran into Purdue and Zach Edey in the first round of the Final Four, something like that. Yeah.
Or Purdue running into UConn.
Also an option. Yes.
Yeah.
I was trying to build you up there. Sorry. How are you guys looking this year? You gonna be?
I'm feeling pretty good.
Feeling good.
Feeling pretty good.
Feeling pretty good.
Early signs, by the way. You can get either IU or Purdue at plus 600 right now to win the Big Ten, and I would guess that one of the two of them is going to win the Big Ten.
Who else would be on that ticket? Michigan? Are they back yet?
UCLA is
that's
the
right.
betting favorite.
Geez, that was weird. Oh,
UCLA
man.
is the betting favorite at 450. Michigan State, which I have no idea how that's the case, but Michigan State's at like
they always have a shot.
Is it like
they
500?
always have a shot.
Yeah, but both Indiana and Purdue's rosters are better than Michigan State.
Where's your?
Are there coaches?
Where's your? Because I'm not close. I don't follow as closely as you. Your IU belief in the roster. Where's that coming from? What's their?
They got a lot better.
Oh my gosh, the recruiting, but.
The transfer.
What do you talk about? I mean, how much does a coach go into this? I mean, we're talking about college.
I understand.
You wonder why Michigan State's always in the conversation is for one man, and why is IU always way over promoted in the last X amount of years?
Well, I think they're going to be.
Well, that was interesting. I did not expect to hear you say, "Hey, IU or Purdue."
What do you guys think about the expansion of the brand and not keeping it the Midwest?
It annoys me, but it's whatever.
I get it.
It's
hard to produce the kind of rivalries you get because you can drive to the stadium.
Yeah, agreed.
And you do life with people who like the other team in your state, right?
Yeah,
that's how you create.
All become a money grab now, and I think if we just recognize that reality and just live with we'll get used to it.
To see what the unintended consequences are of this 10 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
Does it ruin? Does it water all down? I don't know. It's really the NCAA's fault They missed something that these conferences were pushing forward, and they became bigger than the NCAA brand themselves.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see, because there's definitely something we're not thinking of that makes this suck that we're not even going to realize, or maybe there's something that makes it awesome that we're going to be like, I can't believe we didn't do this.
Well, it's
sooner.
like Indiana high school basketball is pretty cool now, but it was really cool when there was
classless,
when there was no class.
Yep.
When there are no classes, but now, I mean, you know, everybody can make it to the state championship, so that's cool, I guess. But
Yeah.
Are there any sports that are classless?
It took the. Well, I don't know. Tennis.
I think the likelihood that you
when we
would
were in
have
high
a
school.
Hoosiers-esque story happen now
is impossible.
No, I'm saying if there was no classes,
Yeah.
I think it would still be impossible. Like,
I don't think so.
the amount of how far we've come and skill and talent at that level, and how on purpose parents are getting their kids in the right place to succeed, it'd be nearly impossible.
Yeah, but
My
a
heart
lot of
wants
those
to believe.
But a lot of those best players don't play for the high school teams.
Correct, but they play for a private school that, again, is still recruiting.
Isn't
I'm saying
it
a
in
Hoosiers
Indiana,
school
though?
is this like
I'm just
school of
talking about
100 people in the
IHSAA.
high school.
I'm just talking about like IHSAA.
What about
Like there would be a chance. It's not inconceivable.
I want to believe what you're saying, Remington. However, it was a big deal to be varsity in 3 sports in high school where I went. Like that was to be varsity in 3 sports. That was not easy.
Yep.
There are kids who would wipe the floors with every kid in my high school at Carmel that are on their JV team as a senior. Like it is not even close to comparing.
I don't know.
It-
Which
but that was
direction did you just
also
say?
but that was also the case when we were in school.
You're saying the skill set is better now?
Yes. Well.
You're saying a JV player at Carmel right now would wipe the floor with your high school varsity team, is what you're saying?
they would definitely be starting.
Well,
Yeah,
that was
that's my
also the
point.
case
You're
when we
thinking that
were in
was the-
school.
Yeah. Okay.
But more so now, is what I'm saying.
I don't think so.
Yes. What I'm saying. Yes. Correct. Yeah. Well, I don't know. Maybe we should. I don't know. Meet some people in high places. Make some changes. We could host The Cover Pod classless tournament.
In the words of Marcus Manges, everyone's entitled to your opinion. Yours is just wrong. See you next time,
I
guys.
still like that shirt.
Peace.
Bye, guys.